And salutations, friends, and welcome back. I apologize for my absence the last couple of days. I have been very busy at the cabin, and some of you have been following that crazy adventure of building a cabin, an off grid cabin in a remote wilderness and mountains. I found this beautiful spot. There was just one problem: the road was blocked. Not only was the road blocked, it was blocked by a whole bunch of big boulders. But this weekend, I'm happy to say that we finally got to that thanks to my good friend Matt, who's awesome. And he has big man tools. You're not moving big boulders like this without some big man tools. So, yeah, and of course, I lovingly marked the boulders. So, busy weekend clearing this road, if you could call it a road of these big boulders. But I'm happy to say that we got it cleared out, and I can't tell you, I have been pulling a wagon. A wagon, yes. I've been pulling a wagon a half mile through the woods around the boulders, right? But we finally got in there thanks to my kind and generous neighbor, Matt, who has big man tools. And he's able to do something about the boulder situation. And it's funny how quickly that happened. And yeah, so busy weekend getting rid of the boulder. And I'm happy to say that as of, yesterday, I'm able to drive my car all the way to Cabot Hill site. A very busy weekend clearing a road. Something I never thought I'd have to do in my entire life. It's more of an old logging trail than an actual road, but it is what it is. But I'm happy to say that got it all cleared out. Well, really, Matt got it all. I watched and I threw stuff to the side, things like that. That Bobcat is an amazing machine. I really wish I had the kind of funds to buy one, right? But it's not just buying it. It costs a lot to maintain one of these things. But luckily, the road is clear. Look at that. Clear road. I got a little bit of work to do with some loppers and stuff, but we'll make it through. Yeah, so I can't tell you how happy I am to finally be able to just drive material. I have carried something like 12 80-pound bags of mortar mix for the stone walls and things into the woods. So, yeah. You ever have one of those weekends where you change your life? That was this weekend. So such a stupid thing to have to deal with. Like, I have this beautiful plot of land, but I have to walk a half mile to it, right? Yeah. So tonight, my friends, we are going to be talking about one of the most famous alien abduction cases, and it was one of my favorites until I learned more about it. Funny how that works. But these amazing stories of alien interactions and alien abductions and alien visitations, they work best as just entertainment. And they work best for what I call lives, low information viewers, people that aren't going to dig into the story or do any research whatsoever. Because the famous story of Travis Walton falls apart, completely falls apart under scrutiny. And I can think of no better person that made it fall apart than one Charlie Weiser. And listen, I don't know what happened with Charlie Weiser. For some reason, I was going to try to get Charlie Weiser to come on the show and talk about all Charlie Weiser's research and her blog and discovering this deathbed confession. But I am now blocked by Charlie Weiser on Twitter. Now, sometimes when this happens, it's like an accident. They didn't mean to block me. Or sometimes it's something kind of trivial. Because I will admit that I'm racing around to do shows, and sometimes I do something stupid. Like I'll use something from somebody and not put them in the credits of the video or thank them verbally. And if it's something like that, then unblock me and message me. Let me know what I did, or if I didn't credit you somewhere, Charlie Weiser, I'd be happy to credit you. Because Charlie Weiser is one of the best skeptics in the business. And but I have to say that I don't think that Charlie Weiser gets enough credit for all the good debunks and things that she does. And it's a very weird situation to be a skeptic in this world because you're not liked. And Charlie also chooses to be anonymous and kind of keeps a low profile, does some spaces, but it's not like Charlie has a website or, well, she does have a website and a blog, but you know what I mean. She doesn't have a YouTube channel. She's not as well, I guess, popularized as a show like mine, and that's unfortunate. We want to take a moment to thank Wreaking Havoc, and I can't find the. Boy, I cleaned my desk, and I don't know what happened to the noise machine, and all I have is a clown horn. So, thank you, Wreaking Havoc, for your kindness, generosity, and support. One for the goal. Just to let everybody know, we are a viewer-supported show. We read every single super chat. If you become a YouTube member of our channel here during the live broadcast, we give you a big shout-out and thank you. If you give some subs on Kick or send some kicks on Kick, we give you a big shout-out and thank you. However you choose to support us, and instructions for how to do that are in the description of this video or podcast. We give you a big shout-out and thank you. I'll go check in with the Kick chat as well. If you become a follower even on Kick or a subscriber, I don't get a notification for every subscriber. So if you become a subscriber on YouTube, just write in caps in the live chat, I subscribed, and I will see that and add you. And we want to thank Dave for the $2 super chat. Fire in the Sky was based on this, wasn't it? Yes, there is a famous Hollywood movie, Fire in the Sky. And the quick version of this, thank you, Dave, for reminding me that many people might not even know the Travis Walton story. So the quick version of the story is that Travis Walton and his 5 logging crew were out logging, and they saw a UFO. And Travis hopped out of the truck and went to go get a closer look. And according to him, he was hit with a blue beam of light, which paralyzed him. And the next thing he knew, he woke up on an alien spaceship. And sort of the typical alien abduction stuff. They performed some kind of medical experiments. And he was apparently missing for like 7 days. The local sheriff thought that the other members of the logging crew may have done some foul play. So there's a lot of misinformation. In other words, things happened like lie detector tests, and people who support Travis Walton's fake story say things like, well, all the logging crew passed lie detector tests. Those lie detector tests were administered by the local police, and they asked the members of the crew if they had anything to do with his disappearance or if they hurt him or murdered him. And they all said no, and they passed. So it's not like they took lie detector tests to prove that the story was true. And I mentioned Charlie Weiser's excellent blog, and I'm going to share. First, I will share the latest development, though. Or you know what? We'll go to the Charlie Weiser's $3 web kit. We'll go to Charlie Weiser's blog first, and if you get a chance, please do follow Charlie Weiser. It's Like It Matters on Twitter, and the description of this video or podcast, I made sure I did it this time. I'm sorry, Charlie Weiser. I didn't mean to piss you off. Besides, Charlie Weiser is a great investigator and not somebody that you generally want to piss off. So Charlie Weiser, I believe, has the best, just complete deconstruction of the Travis Walton case. There was a lot of things about this story that I had found and sort of debunked myself, but there's a lot of other stuff that is kind of crazy. Like Charlie Weiser may have figured out where he got his story from, because it bears a striking resemblance. A Robert Heinlein book, Universe. The control room scene features similar planetarium to Have Stars Suit Will Travel. So there's 2 stories. One is a children's book with science fiction. An 18-year-old country boy, Kip, is out walking in a field at night. He encounters a flying saucer. He gets zapped with a blue light, and he wakes up aboard the craft. And again, this was a children's book from 1958. Could Travis Walton have read this book and got his story from this? It seems like there are some striking similarities. So, half spacesuit will travel. A flying saucer nearly lands on top of Kip, and he is knocked unconscious. He later learns the aliens have a blue light to achieve this. It leaves him limp as a string on recovery. Kip wakes up fully clothed, thinks he's in a hospital. There weren't any light fixtures. The whole ceiling was glowed white. The room was about 10 feet across, four sided, but wedge shaped. Kip describes the walls as being elephant hide. The ship ached with silence. No throb, no thump, not even those vibrations you can sense, but not here. Kip grabs a 5-point pointy metal pike to smash open a door. That's the fictional account from this children's book from 1958. Now, here's Travis Walton's account. Travis steps almost underneath the flying saucer and is struck by a blue beam or flame that knocks him unconscious. Travis wakes up fully clothed and thinks he's in the hospital. The ceiling fixture was a luminous rectangle about 3 feet by 1.5 feet, gay off of a clear, soft white glow. The floor and ceiling were shaped like a slice of pie with the point bitten off. Three of the walls, so a wedge. Wedge shaped, like the fictional book. Three of the walls were each about 12 feet in length. The metal of the walls had a textured, grainy, matte appearance, dull and non-reflective. The only sounds I heard were those movements and of my own voice. Nothing moved and no sound could be heard. And in Travis' account, he grabbed an 18-inch transparent rod as a weapon and tries to break it into a sharp point. In the fictional book, it was a 5-foot metal pike to smash open a door. The aliens from the fictional account and Travis's account are strikingly similar. The control room and the description of the control room were strikingly similar to a fiction book. And I don't want to bore you or, we just want to give you some of the general points here. And a lot of Travis Walton's story seemed taken directly from science fiction, like Star Trek. Travis' alien chair seemed strangely just like Captain Kirk's Star Trek Enterprise command chair. Isn't that interesting? The medical device across Travis' chest sure sounds like this one from Dr. McCoy's med bay. Oh, imagine that, right? And there's more and more and more. There's a 1967 issue of Flying Saucers, a comic book featured a story called Far Out Physical. A man walking in the woods finds a flying saucer, is zapped by an alien's beam, and wakes up on a table with something attached to his chest. See Star Trek reference above. The aliens perform procedures on the man beneath a hanging fixture. The aliens are short with large, smooth, white heads, speak his language, and wear orange, collarless coveralls without zippers or buttons. This is strikingly, again, similar to Travis's Walton case. And then, of course, there's the money aspect. They all, Travis and his logging crew, were award winners. There was a contest in the National Enquirer for, I believe it was $100,000 for the best UFO or alien story. But because Travis did not pass the lie detector, they only gave them, I believe it was $5,000. And then the physical evidence is kind of a joke. But here is the story of the National Enquirer polygraph. And he failed. Travis Walton failed the story. He gave his story under polygraph. And I know I'm going to get messed with in the comments. Oh, like they're not admissible under court. They're pseudoscience. I happen to own a polygraph, and I think they're excellent investigative tools. So McCarthy is this person who he failed the lie detector test dismally. Polygraph examination, and here's Travis Walton consented to that. There's all these stories about the tree rings and some kind of radiation claims or claims of advanced growth, but at the end of the day, that was Travis's job, was to thin out forests, and then the remaining trees grow better. So there's basically no real physical evidence. And consequences: 1 lie, 3 lives. Most of the people, this Steve Pierce just gave he really beat them up recently. I hated Travis for a long time after this because my whole world was just tore up. People thought we were lying, thought we were crazy. My mom still don't believe it. She thinks this is all from the devil. Yeah, so nobody that was involved in the original case really did very well after that. The trauma of this event has never gone away. That's from Travis Walton himself. Uh, is money the only thing that matters? Yeah. And by the way, Travis Walton has made a career out of this story. He has never produced a single piece of actual verifiable proof or evidence of his claims, but since the original incident, he's been a fixture at UFO conferences, and you can tell a lot about how credible he is by who he associates with. Big friend of Jimmy Church, and we know Jimmy Church loves hoaxers like David Wilcock, like Dr. Jonathan Reed, like Anjali, like Travis Walton. Yeah, Travis Walton appeared on Jimmy Church's show many, many times. If we have time, we'll get to that. So interestingly, the prevailing theory about how the hoax worked is that Travis Walton and his partner Mike Rogers were in on the hoax, but the other three gentlemen did not know what was going on. And Mike Rogers allegedly, some time ago, spilled the beans on how the hoax worked. And the flying saucer that they thought they saw was actually a fire tower that was all lit up. And curiously, it had colored spotlights that you could shine from the actual platform. So that would explain the UFO. And it bears a striking similarity to what the witnesses described. And so, interestingly, Mike Rogers and Travis Walton got in a dispute several years ago over what? Money. Because apparently, uh, Travis Walton was getting a new deal for a new documentary or a new movie. And by the way, there is the Hollywood movie Fire in the Sky, which, by the way, it's a great movie. As long as you know that this is a hoax and it's a fictional story. We want to thank Deno Complizaire, who's been a member for 43 months. Travis, full of shit. Walton did hide his $5 ass inside that tower 4 to 5 days. Yeah, many people think he spent the time that he was missing. I think he was missing 7 days, actually in a tower, eating sandwiches and waiting before he came out. And again, a lot of people say the motive for the whole hoax was, and thank you for being a member for so long, Complizier. The motive, people say, was the $100,000 prize offered by the National Enquirer. I mean, back then, 1978, $100,000 was worth a lot more than it is now. So apparently or allegedly, Mike Rogers and Travis Walton came up with this scam, and they perpetrated the hoax not only against the general public, but against the other people on the logging, crew. And the others, according to Mike Rogers' later admissions, were not in on it. They didn't know that it was fake, and they were terrified. So isn't that interesting? Now, the recent thing that happened is that Mike Rogers, Travis Walton's one-time partner, passed away, and as many people do, he gave his daughter a sort of a deathbed confession. 1 second. I can never do this right. Bear with me. I'm trying to get to the. I'll share it another way then. One moment. I have it on my Google Drive. So recently, Mike Rogers, one-time partner of Travis Walton, gave a deathbed confession of sorts to his daughter. But strangely, he also claims that he also hoaxed the Phoenix Lights famous case, which I don't know that I believe or not. But I did explain. So some time ago, Travis Walton and Mike Rogers got into a dispute over money because apparently Travis Walton was getting a new deal to make a new movie or documentary, and he didn't cut his partner, one-time partner, Mike Rogers, in on that money. So suddenly Mike Rogers came out and said it was all a hoax, and here's how we did it. And Travis Walton lied to everybody. And then suddenly, Travis Walton and everybody at the time was like, wow, that's crazy. It's incredible. It's one time, because for years, Travis Walton always used the other people in the logging crew to back up his story. They saw the UFO. They saw me hit with a blue light, and then I disappeared. And they saw the UFO fly away, and they'll all back up my story. Well, Mike Rogers, after a dispute over money, said, I no longer back up Travis Walton's story. And it was a hoax. So people are complaining about this latest, this latest deathbed confession, claiming that that doesn't prove anything. But given that he also, after a dispute over money, sort of disowned Travis Walton and called it a hoax several years ago, I think we could safely assume that Mike Rogers knew that it was a hoax. So this was the recent post, which was deleted after. That's another reason why people are having a problem with this, because Mike Rogers' daughter apparently posted this and then later deleted it. So people are like, it's not a real post. Yeah, I believe that it is, because I don't know. I know Charlie. I've seen Charlie Weiser's work long enough to know that Charlie Weiser does not need to fabricate fake debunks or fake information. And isn't it interesting that there's people like what is this? There's people like, what is his name, Ryan from Somewhere in the Skies podcast, somehow accusing Charlie Weiser of wrongdoing because she wants to once and for all prove it's a hoax. Or I don't believe that. So this is Michelle Datris, which I was able to confirm is Mike Rogers of the famous Travis Walton case, daughter's name. And I believe that her location from the post is where this woman lives. On Friday, February 6th, my father died. We held his funeral this past Saturday. Okay, so before he died, he called and he asked me to hurry over, saying that he wished to speak to me about a matter of great importance. He said I needed to get to him before they began the morphine and other drugs. I immediately asked my manager if I could leave work and take the next day off. I spent an hour gathering my things, including some good pens and a notebook, also a voice recorder. So there may be, maybe someday we'll get a recorded tape of Mike Rogers making these admissions. From where I live, it is a 3-hour drive to the White Mountains of Arizona, where I came from and my father lived all my life. This is a very long story, but I'll condense it down here for you, my Quora friends. So she has a Quora account, like a blog, intending to tell the entire story sometime later on other platforms and possibly by some other means in the near future. My father wished to confess to several hoaxes that he carried out beginning in November of 1975. Yes, that UFO incident, one of the best known UFO stories in the world, was a hoax. Then it's where it gets weird, because then Mike Rogers takes credit for the Phoenix Lights in March 1997. He explained to me in great detail, including how and what with he created the UFO on a large ranch north of Prescott, Arizona. Apparently there was some kind of balloon and lights on it and a frame, and he was floating this thing over small towns. That's what he claimed, and somehow it got away from him, and that's what the famous Phoenix Lights hoax was about. But we do know that the military was dropping flares. I think that's a better explanation for what that hoax was. To say the least, I was stunned, of course. In any case, the point of this post is to confess on behalf of my father for all the hoaxes that he carried out all over the world from November 1975 till at least March of 1997. This also includes several crop circles in England, beginning with an intricate snowflake design in 1994. When I asked him why he did not confess any of this himself, he said it was because he is terrified of going to jail or prison, most specifically for the Phoenix Lights hoax, because the military got involved to investigate and was definitely seen as a potential threat to millions of people. He said that he did not intend to fly his UFO over the enormous city of Phoenix, and that its intended path was over small towns where it could definitely be noticed by some people out in the country. He wanted me to confess and apologize to the world for his hoaxes. And then for all of his lies, right up to the very end of his life, he hoped that telling the truth finally could make things better somehow. I don't know if that's possible, but I promise to try. Owner of Snark Space on Quora and daughter of Michelle Howard Rogers. Now, I tried to contact this woman, and as of the time of this broadcast, we did not get back to me. She did not get back to me. And listen, I want to be respectful. She just lost her father. I think she's probably hearing from 100 UFO nerds, and so I tried to message her, and no reply. Yeah, MAGA says, I don't know, this does seem a little spot on, but if you say you know and believe this woman, then maybe she's telling the truth. I don't know her. I verified that he has a daughter named that, and that she has a Quora account. So, yeah. And so a lot of people really are not aware of the lie detector. There was a national television show, and we're going to go through that, the whole thing I got, thanks to Area 503, at Area 503 on Twitter. Somebody posted just the one question he was asked when he did the lie detector on national television. And Area 503 found the whole thing. And I think the whole thing is a bit more revealing. And so we're going to cite fair use. I'll put my fair use banner up. And this is a transformative work. We're educating the public, critiquing the video that we are sharing, and educating the public, of course. So this is the textbook definition. All right. And I'm going to play this small because I'm telling you, I have had enough of copyright vultures. Does anybody know what that is? Copyright vultures are companies that will file false copyright claims against hundreds or thousands of YouTube channels, even when you're doing even when what you're doing is clearly fair use. And these companies' defense is always like, well, you could file a fair use defense letter. Yeah, but sometimes these people, I could show you one. Joe Rogan just filed 12 copyright claims against me for one episode. There's a company called Super Barn, and they just mass file copyright claims. And in the Joe Rogan circumstance, they filed, I think it's 12 or 14 different clips. So what people don't understand is it's not that I have to file a copyright claim defense letter. I have to file 14 of them to get my ad penny. Apparently, Joe Rogan needs the ad revenue more than me, right? Mr. $330 million Spotify deal is being a copyright vulture. But part of me understands, because if you've ever been on YouTube, there's 100 or 200 or 500 or maybe 1,000 different YouTube channels just uploading Joe Rogan clips. No commentary, nothing transformative, nothing. So part of me doesn't blame him. Maybe he feels like he's getting robbed from those people. But the thing that bothers me is that Joe Rogan does fair use on his show. You ever hear him say, Jamie, pull this up? That's fair use, Joe Rogan. If you're allowed to do it, why am I not allowed to do it? And pull up clips from your show. But it is what it is. In any case, I'm going to play this thing small so that, or I'm going to try to play it small there so that I don't have to worry so much. There we go. And I apologize, but this is just what we have to do to avoid, paperwork is my kryptonite, right? All right, so this is Travis Walton, and he's going to go on national television and try to win a big fat check. If he passes this lie detector test, he's going to, and I'm going to get comments. It's not a lie detector, Steven. Okay, if he passes the polygraph, are you happy? I guess language matters. And again, all I will say is I own a polygraph machine, and I believe it's a very good investigative tool. Are they foolproof? No. But generally, if I hook somebody up to it and they're lying, I know that they're lying based on the sensor readings. And, I think it's a very good tool. But we always get people in the comments like, that's not proof, Steve. Okay. You're free to think what you want about polygraphs. But I've never had somebody in the comments that actually has owned, trained, or really experimented with a polygraph tell me that they're not valid. And I kind of feel like I own one. I have the right to my opinion after using it for several years to determine that I think it is valid. Uh, Winter Soldier sent a hype, so thanks for that. 10 kicks. All right. We're graduating on kick. They used to throw pennies at me. Now they're throwing dimes. Awesome. So let's begin this, and we're going to go through this. This is Travis Walton taking a lie detector test. You got to love it, right? And what do you think the results are going to be? And remember, the National Enquirer back in, I think it was 1980 or 1981 or two, after the event, the National Enquirer did a polygraph, and he failed that polygraph miserably. That's a quote from the polygraph examiner that did the original polygraph from the National Enquirer. And by the way, the National Enquirer hushed up, sort of paid off that polygrapher to just bury the polygraph story. Years later, we found out that he failed that.
In this chair, the only thing that separates a person from $500,000 is 21 questions and their ability to answer each one of these questions with the truth.
All right, so he could have made $500,000 on this show.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Is there an honest person left in America? I'm Mark Wahlberg, and this is the Moment of Truth.
Mark Wahlberg? You think he's related to the other Wahlbergs? He doesn't look like them. This is a good idea for this is a really good idea for a show. And by the way, that's one of the reasons I got a polygraph, because I have a set that I can have an in-person guest, and we were originally going to do that, but so far I only have one taker that will agree to be hooked up to the polygraph. We're going to do it eventually, but I would have liked to get, like 5 or 6 people to agree to do the polygraph kind of show with me, and then schedule them all so that we could keep that sort of theme rolling. So far, I've only got one person willing to do it. And the idea for mine was like this. You say you got abducted by aliens, sit down, let's hook you up, and I'll ask you some questions about your story. Does anybody actually remember this television show? Because I really don't.
Travis Walton is a 55-year-old paper control inspector from Snowflake, Arizona. His claim of being abducted by aliens has made him an international celebrity. He has been married for over 30 years and has 4 children. He was asked over 50 questions by a polygraph examiner. 21 have been chosen for tonight.
21
Travis
questions.
Walton, this is your moment of truth.
I like this show concept. This is good.
Travis, thank you so much for coming on the show. Nice to meet you. Have a seat. Make yourself as comfortable as you can. So at this point, before we started the questioning, how do you feel?
Oh, a little nervous, of course.
It's an appropriate response. I'll do everything I can to help you not be nervous. I will ask you, however,
I got $500,000 on the line here. And by this point, Travis has already been a fixture at UFO conventions. So I think he took a big risk doing this show, because I sort of remember after this, when it didn't go well for him, people were like, what is he doing at UFO conventions? He lied about his story. So this kind of backfired on him.
People are really very eager to hear what you have to say. You think you're going to be able to tell the truth in front of all of America tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Now, you're not only telling the truth in front of all of America, but friends and family have joined us to hear your truth as well. Let's take a moment to meet them.
Hi, I'm Dana. I'm Travis's wife.
I'm Celeste, and I'm Travis's daughter.
I'm Roy, and I'm Travis's son-in-law.
Hi, I'm Cliff, and I'm Travis's son.
I'm Ken. I'm Travis's friend.
Glad to have all of you here. What a beautiful family, Travis.
That seems like unnecessary fluff, but I guess that's one of the ways they get contestants. Hey, you get a vacation in Los Angeles, you and your whole family.
Now,
good hook.
Here on the Moment of Truth, we ask very personal questions, and specifically given Travis's story, it can get very personal. Are you guys ready for this?
Yep, ready.
How about you, Travis? Are you ready?
Ready as I'm going to be.
Got to drama it up.
Let's go for it then. Travis, level 1 has 6 questions in it. If you can answer all 6.
By the way, thanks again to Area 503 who found this.
Remember, if you're ever concerned about the answers you gave on your polygraph exam, you can change them tonight. Okay?
Okay.
We have a few questions to start our game here that are not about the reason that you're here, not about the alleged.
And you can
alien
find this
abduction,
on,
but
just
are more
search
chance for us
YouTube, you
to
can
get to know
find
you
this.
a little bit before we go there. Okay?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your job.
There's no description.
Oh, I'm a quality control inspector. I work at a paper recycling plant, and I just check out the incoming material.
Sounds pretty boring.
Question 1. Have you ever
We'll
called
come
in
right
sick
back to
for
that.
work when in fact you just wanted the day off?
I'd have to answer yes to that. All of us would. Come on. We've all done that.
You never have.
That answer is true.
Oh, come on. He never called out sick. Is it just me, right? Deno Complicated says, allegedly, Bob Lazar is going to be on a new upcoming Joe Rogan Experience podcast to promote the fake as F new movie of his BS story. Yes, I have heard that. And we'll be covering that. I'm a big supporter of Bob Lazar doing more interviews because the more he talks, the more he betrays himself. Bob Lazar's story is completely fake. I'm confident of that. All the research that has been done on his story just confirms it. And the fact that they spent years, by the way, on this latest new documentary. They're promising all this new evidence, but I kind of have bad deja vu because Jeremy Corbell promised all this new evidence, and the hand scanner from Close Encounters of the Third Kind was the only new evidence. So to me, that wasn't evidence. Thank you, Complicated, for being a big show supporter. £5, 51, and 1 for the goal. Let's get some more for the goal, friends. We're way off of the goal pacing. Don't make me turn into Dark Side Phil and start bitching.
He's not like all of us. I'm impressed, Travis. I've not only called in sick for me, I've done it for many of my friends.
Oh, I forgot too.
Do you have a lot of close friends?
I think so.
We'll catch up with the kick. We have Winter Soldier sent a hype, 10 kicks. And then we have Let's Maga sent a hell yeah, 1 kick. And Let's Maga sent 10 kicks. So thank you, kick supporters, for the support.
One of them is here on the couch. Ken, would you consider yourself a close friend?
Yeah, very close. For 40 years.
40 years. Wow. Question 2. Have you ever committed a crime and let someone else take the blame?
No.
That answer is true.
Does anybody else feel like they're giving them layup, easy questions to start off with? I wouldn't have wasted one of these 21 questions. I would have went straight to all the alien stuff.
That's 2 truthful answers, 4 more, $10,000. What was it like growing up in the Walton family?
Well, I was one of 6.
Just like on the television show, huh?
Yeah.
Close family?
Oh, God, man. Growing up, my parents loved the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie. To this day, I'm like, ew. Anytime I see Waltons and Archie Bunker, my dad basically was Archie Bunker, so I guess he loved that show. And really, my father was Archie Bunker. Like, he looked like him, he sounded like him, he talked like him. He had like the same kind of, I don't know, weird kind of belief system too.
Yes.
And how were mom and dad?
I didn't know my father too well. My parents were divorced when I was young, but
I see.
I had a wonderful mother.
Question 3. When you were a child, did either of your parents discuss UFOs or extraterrestrials?
Well, that's relevant.
Yes.
That answer is true.
Well, isn't that interesting? While he was growing up, his parents discussed UFOs and flying saucers and extraterrestrial aliens, right? Yeah. Oh, we got that one. Okay. So, a lot of times when people come out with stories like this, they kind of claim like, "Oh, I never knew anything about UFOs or aliens." Well, in this case, we know his parents talked about UFOs and aliens, so there maybe have been some influence there.
3 right. 3 more, $10,000. Do you remember what they talked about?
I had a brother that had a sighting years before, and so it came up on occasion, but no,
Oh, his brother saw a UFO.
not a dominant topic.
Okay. You live in Snowflake, Arizona?
Yes.
Is there much to do for recreation in Snowflake?
Not a lot. It's getting better. We got a stoplight here a while back.
Wow. Question 4.
Yeah, small town Arizona.
Have you ever used drugs for recreational purposes?
I don't think many of us would want to be hooked up to a polygraph and have to answer that question truthfully. He's got to say yes. I think he was cannabis guy.
A little bit. Yes.
That answer is true.
I like how he had to say a little bit. I wouldn't want to answer that in front of my son. Not at all.
Answers. Celeste, are you aware that your father has had that experience in his life?
When I was little, I didn't know, but now I do.
Yeah, I figured out. Dad's out in the garage smoking up. Dad's
Question
smoking
5.
again.
Do you believe the U.S. government is covering up evidence that UFOs actually exist?
That seems like an easy one, too. He's going to say yes.
Very much so. Yes.
That answer is true.
5 truthful answers. One
Well,
more
he believes that
$10,000.
anyway,
You believe
right?
that things like Area 51 and other incidences like that, there's truth in that?
Yes.
How about on the couch there?
I think it's probable. I mean, that it's likely that they're covering stuff up
Yeah.
to some degree or another.
When Travis said the answer to this question, the audience clapped. You guys believe that there's a cover-up, audience?
I think the vast majority of especially Americans believe that. Nick Poe, 420, with $2 saying, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Much, much appreciated. Let's continue, friends.
Do you think this whole experience, the abduction and all that's come since in the 30 or some odd years of scrutiny, do you think that's affected your health at all? I don't know how I would fare as well with that kind of scrutiny and people, quite frankly, thinking I'm nuts from time to time, which I'm sure you've run across.
Well, I'm sure in the immediate
Yeah,
aftermath,
you're right. Let's make it. Felt it. Yes.
Be intense, but in the long term,
Not so much.
not so much.
Okay. Here's your $10,000 moment of truth.
Yeah, I would lie about my
Question
opinion.
6.
Yeah, because that's an
Have
easy
you
one.
ever been diagnosed with any mental disorders?
That's a tough one. Because hypertension could be considered a mental problem, right? A lot of things could be considered mental
The
problems.
moment of truth will continue.
Oh, come on. They got to
The
do
moment
the.
of truth
They got to do
continues.
Question
the
6.
hook to get you to sit through the
Have you ever
commercial.
been diagnosed with any mental disorders?
They hooked him to a polygraph and asked all these questions previous to his being on stage.
Technically, I'd have to say yes, but I'll need to explain.
Okay, let's find out if that's true.
That answer is true.
Crazy, all the way to the bank.
That's worth $10,000, Travis. So, congratulations. Would you like to explain that?
Well, one of the psychiatrists who witnessed my regressive hypnosis concluded that I was telling the truth. But since he did not believe in UFOs, he had to come up with something to rationalize this in his opinion. So he claimed that I had a transitory psychosis and had a delusion that this occurred to me. What he didn't explain was how my 6 coworkers had the same delusion.
A collective delusion.
Yeah. Well, right after that, I went through a battery of psychiatric examinations and had a perfectly normal pattern of scores with those experts.
Delusional psychosis.
You've answered 6 truthfully, and I appreciate
That could
you
explain
answering them.
thinking you got taken up in a
$10,000 is yours.
spaceship by aliens, maybe,
But
right?
that's not really why
It
we're
does make
here.
sense.
Certainly,
Yeah.
you can leave just like any participant we've had on the show. Would you like to stop, or would you like to continue?
Go. Continue.
Go.
Not my parents. My parents were total squares. My dad didn't even drink.
5 more truthful answers. We turn that 10,000.
I'm feeling good.
into
Thank you for
$5,000.
asking. Me
Question
too.
7. Prior to your abduction,
He is a good
had
media
you ever
performer,
seen
yes.
a UFO?
Yes.
That answer is
Press your luck.
true.
Oh, so he saw a UFO before his famous
So far, you've
abduction.
been perfect. 7 truthful answers. So, what did you see?
I saw some things that were not distinct enough for me to fully identify. To all appearances, to me, it was something.
No whammies.
unconventional.
Yeah. Big money, no whammies.
Not
What was that
anything
show from?
When
With
was
the
this?
whammies. I watched that growing up.
Many years before.
Yeah, here come the big money questions. They're going to get harder
Question
now.
8. Do you think extraterrestrials are actively observing humans here on Earth?
Well, this is a question about his belief, not about whether that's
Yes.
true or not.
That answer is
Exactly. This means unidentified.
true.
8 truthful. 3 more. We're at
The
25.
Joker's wild. Yeah.
Do you have dreams about your abduction?
Not so much anymore.
But have you ever?
Yes.
You have. Yeah.
Oh,
He
boy.
used to have nightmares right afterwards.
What's that, Dana?
He had nightmares for a while.
Did you know him when this happened?
I knew him.
But you weren't married at
We
that
weren't
point.
married at that time.
What did you think when you first heard the story?
Well, you know, my brother and I knew most of the guys on the crew. You believe people that you know.
6 people
But,
on that
yeah.
crew. All had the same exact story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but only one person was missing for a week and claimed to be up in the alien spaceship. The rest just claimed they saw what they described as a flying saucer above him.
Question 9. Do you believe that it is possible that your entire abduction experience may have been a hallucination?
That's a hard one to answer. Because when you have like, imagine if you really did think that aliens took you on a spaceship. There's got to be some part of you that thought maybe this was a dream or a psychosis or a delusion or a hallucination or I got dosed or, Tough question to answer.
No.
No, he doesn't believe it was a
That
delusion.
answer is true.
But then again, if he hoaxed it and he knew he hoaxed it, he would know it wasn't a delusion.
That says quite a bit. So this whole experience must have really put Snowflake on the map.
Yes.
He's up to 25K
Yeah.
Very much so.
in free
Sort of,
money.
divided the town.
How did it divide the town? You had believers and non-believers?
Yeah. Sometimes right down the middle of marriages. One partner believed and one didn't.
Question 10. Do you think most people in your hometown believe you were abducted by aliens?
Again, these are opinion questions. Let's get to the meat, man.
No. No, not most of them.
That answer is true.
And I think it's safe to say that in a small town, I think most people would probably think that this story was hogwash.
10 truthful.
However, I
Yes.
think the percentage of people that believe has increased over time, not gone down. So
Cosmic banana.
as more of the
Behave,
true facts,
buddy.
True facts
Yes.
came out.
No, he gets to keep it. They're just
Travis,
there for the
I sit here
ride,
and
I
I think of how many
you know?
years you've lived with this and how many people.
It's true because
certainly
he's
in
lying.
1975, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s cynics and skeptics will say things that have got to be hurtful. This could not have been a fun ride for you.
It's certainly thickened my skin, but you know, some of it still gets through.
Brings me to this question. It's worth $25,000, and it is a pretty personal question. Okay?
Yeah, people are retarded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question 11. Do you sometimes feel as if your abduction experience ruined your life?
This is an interesting question. I'd like to see Prince Andrew on the
The
TV
moment
show
of
too.
truth
Yeah.
will continue.
Another hook. Sit through that 5-minute commercial.
The moment of truth continues.
Okay, shall we continue?
It is kind of fun and funny at the same time. Yeah.
Question 11. Do you sometimes feel
Let
as if
him out
your
now.
abduction experience ruined your life?
Yes, absolutely.
That answer
Yeah, I should be
is
taking notes for my version of this.
true.
Well, congratulations. That's $25,000.
I think that is his first wife.
And that is yours to keep. Dana, you've known him all your adult life.
I think he's divorced now.
How
I'll
do you
check
feel
though.
hearing that admission?
Kind of shocked, but I know it probably does feel that way at times.
I don't think there's anybody watching who couldn't understand that. You want to elaborate on that at all and tell us what it's been like for you?
Well, you know, in order to cope with things, you got to look for the good in everything. But so, you know, I know that I've gained some insight and some understanding that maybe nobody else knows. But at the same time, at a price no one would willingly pay.
I certainly understand that.
Yeah.
Celeste,
Feel sorry for me and pay $50 for an autograph of my book at your local UFO convention.
as his daughter, you've had to witness this and probably bear the brunt of it yourself a little bit.
Yeah, poor lady married this guy.
It can't have been easy.
Yeah.
No, it was sometimes hard when I was a kid in school. You know, the other kids that, you know, their parents probably told them that my dad made up some story.
Cliff, you're the oldest.
Right.
Do you remember when you first discovered that there was this story and this was your father's legacy and there were certain people that believed and certain people that didn't?
Yeah, absolutely.
Apparently he's still
I don't remember
married
exactly
to this
what
woman,
point, but
Dana
I grew
Wall.
up with it, and yeah, it caused some, teasing, but I always just thought it was amazing. I know my dad's character, and he's just a down-to-earth guy, honest guy, and I totally believed him. So,
Well, it's your
You've
dad.
answered truthfully that
Of course,
$25,000.
if it's your dad, you're going to believe that your dad. Nobody wants to believe their dad is a liar and a hoaxer.
For money, but we can't add.
I wonder what his children would feel about the deathbed confessions and his partner Mike Rogers disavowing the story as a hoax several years ago.
To it, 4 more truthful answers, we get to $100,000. And
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it. The question's getting harder now.
in this next section, we're going to ask some very specific questions. Questions about that day in 1975. So would you like to continue?
I'll go forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I need the money. Those UFO conventions aren't paying so well. And I guess by this time, the book and movie deal money dried up.
I think at some point you have to know your own truth regardless of what people think. I would imagine, however, the credibility of your story has been a constant fight in your life.
Yes, it never ends.
And that every aspect of you as a person is under scrutiny.
Yes.
We asked some of those questions here tonight.
I am pausing it and giving
Before we get to the next
commentary.
question-
What's going on? One second. Let me just check on the stream. Oh, man. More and more reason to do kick shows. Just bear with me. Oh, Just bear with me. I'm still trying to see if the stream comes back. Okay, refresh. We're back. Okay, so one moment. I'm sorry about that. Noise from the typing as well. All right, well, I hate it when this kind of stuff happens. What we were doing was clearly fair use. I guess I can't continue the stream. Stream suspended for a moment for policy violation. And you know, this is really regrettable because clearly what we're doing is commentary and fair use. And you know, this is happening more and more. So I know there's one clip on, let me see if I can find Astral. Astral posted the clip. Spooky, didn't you send me the clip that Astral, can you send that to me again? Because I don't know that I'll be able to find Astral's X account on the fly. Or let me go over to my Facebook Messenger. Maybe I'll be able to find it. There's a clip that Astral provided, right? We're back for those. Yeah. One moment. I know Spooky sent me the clip, the most important clip, where it was the question that he failed and showed deception. Just bear with me for one moment while I find that. My gosh, you can't even do fair use commentary on YouTube. And it's always these big media companies. That's probably like a former, you know, ABC, CBS, whatever. One moment. I'm trying to find the clip on Twitter. Maybe if we play it from there, we'll do better. And I apologize for this. Astral, I got it. Okay, I have the famous clip. And we're going to play it from Twitter. And I just want to do this once again. I'll put the fair use banner up and say to YouTube, like, you know, if somebody is doing something and there's clearly commentary over it, it's a transformative work. It's clearly, you know, shouldn't be a policy violation. And I apologize to my audience for that. So we'll try to do it this way and see if this will work any better. So this is the most famous part of that show. I should have known better. I thought we could do it and not have these issues, and I apologize.
On November 5th, 1975, well, Travis Walton has told us a detailed account. You can read his book. What is the title of the book?
Fire in the Sky.
Yes, the book is called Fire in the Sky, just like the movie that was made into a famous Hollywood movie. And if you do get a chance, I think that's a great movie. And you'll pardon me if I'm going to pause and speak in between us playing this clip so we don't get another suspension of the stream. Actually, I guess I shouldn't complain because I think in my entire time on YouTube, which is amounting to, I don't know, what is it, 6 or 7 years now? Or maybe a little less with Truth Seekers, but certainly that with my previous show and Truth Seekers. This is only the second time that has happened. And remember, I talked about copyright vultures at the beginning of the broadcast. That's the kind of copyright vulture stuff, you know? And it's kind of ridiculous that we have to deal with that, but it is what it is. And there's really nothing you could do about it because, you know, fair use is fair use. But anyway, Astral has the famous clip. And he says, Travis Walton went on a game show, Moment of Truth, to try to win $100,000, taking a polygraph test for 15 questions. It was 21.
Fire in the Sky. Also a movie based on his story. And basically, he says he was driving with 6 crew members from a day of work where they saw flying saucer. And he jumped out of the truck, and the next thing was witnessed by Ken and others that a beam of energy or light hit you. And
oh, so that's Ken is one of the original logging members. That's the guy who said he knew him for 40 years. So Ashel says his final question was straight up, were you abducted by a UFO? He failed it and walked away with $25,000 instead. And Jeff Knox says, amazing you all are just saying this stuff now. Stuff that's been out there for ages. It's almost like you guys don't actually investigate the cases you choose to believe in. Hopefully in the future you guys do better and exhibit some critical thinking on people's crazy claims. And Jay Anderson, of all people, says, that moment your perfectly rehearsed UFO abduction story gets denied by a lie detector on a game show, you're on to win $100,000 and you only win $25,000, but you placed a $50,000 bet on yourself and now you have to find another game show. All right, I'm going to just go 15 seconds at a time between pauses.
You believe that you were abducted, and Ken believes that you were abducted by aliens for that period of time. So we asked that question. Question 15.
And here is the big question. Honestly, I think this game show did a disservice because giving him all those fluff questions first, I don't know, right? Yeah, thank you. Seraphim Cucumber says, I'm going over to Kick where they do not screw over this guy. Yeah. All right. Let's continue. I'm trying to pause it here so we don't get another policy violation or stream interrupted.
Is simply this. Were you abducted by a UFO on November 5th, 1975?
All right. So here's the meat of it. This is what it all comes down to. And, again, I'm going to say this. A lot of people are going to say, well, polygraphs aren't reliable. That's why they're not admissible in court. I just know from my own experience with one that if somebody is being deceptive, I'm sure it depends on the experience of the person reading the polygraph. But for me, I think it's very incredibly accurate. But then I do know people will say, well, there's ways to get around it. There's ways that you could fool a polygraph. Maybe. It might have been that some of the music that was playing in the background of this video was copyrighted. So who knows?
Yes.
So were you abducted by a UFO on this date in November 1975? And he says yes. And the lie detector determined
That answer is
and listen to the pause. They put in this huge pause. Build up the drama. The way to drag it out, man. Come on. You got to tell us.
false.
Look at his reaction. No way. He looks embarrassed, and he should be embarrassed because by this game show, he spent years of his life at UFO conventions telling the story over and over ad nauseum, right? Ad nauseum, telling the story over and over and over again. And for money. Everything that Travis Walton did around this story was all for money. Book deal, Hollywood movie deal, documentary deal, TV show deals. He got, I'm sure he was paid to do interviews on different, paranormal shows and things like that, History Channel shows.
Well,
look at his wife. Oh my God, my husband's a liar. Look, my husband's a liar. He's a liar. Yeah, he's a liar, honey.
Travis, I told you at the very beginning of this show that I'm not a skeptic. And so I try not to judge or root one way or the other, but I was really hoping.
There's his son. Oh man, my father's a liar. My father wrote a whole book of lies, right? My father wrote a whole book of lies. Oh no. Oh no. All right, let's finish this now.
That this answer was a true answer. All I will say to you is that when asked this while strapped to the polygraph machine, it was deduced that your response was conclusively deceptive.
Not just deceptive, conclusively deceptive. And by the way, for those unaware, there are levels and gradients to the polygraph. Sometimes maybe one of the sensors will indicate deception, but sometimes all of them will indicate deception. And in that case, the polygrapher makes a determination. If somebody is saying conclusively deceptive, that means he kind of rang all the bells on all of the polygraph sensors, in my opinion. And I haven't seen the actual polygraph, so I can't say for certain, but generally, yeah. If a polygrapher or the person giving the polygraph exam says something like conclusively deceptive, that means he was ringing all of the liar bells on the machine.
Sadly, I'll say that the $100,000 you stood to win by answering truthfully is not yours, but I will happily say that by having the courage to face us and be here and answer these questions, 14 of which you answered truthfully, we have $25,000 for you. Is there...
Oh, yeah. And Ashel said taking a polygraph test for 15 questions. He was supposed to answer 21. He only made it through 14 truthfully. And then the big one, were you abducted by a UFO? The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Is there anything, Travis, you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
Yeah. Please come to my next UFO convention and pay me to talk about my story again, even though I just proved myself a liar on this was on national television, by the way. National television, right? So, pretty interesting, right? All right. And now I have one where we shouldn't get a policy violation. I have one of his interviews. This is an interesting interview because right after Mike Rogers had a financial dispute and with Travis Walton and said that the story was a hoax, he went on Fade to Black. And I think this is that episode. Let me just cue it past shitty Jimmy Church's shitty copyrighted music. A lot of the grifter channels use copyrighted music so that you can't do commentary. Or you'll get smacked down, right? All right, one moment. We'll go to that interview for the remainder of our show here. And Jimmy Church likes to file false copyright claims too, so I'm just going to say, look at the banner. This is fair use. This is transformative work. We're educating the public and we're critiquing the videos that we are sharing. This is covered under fair use and is allowable by law. And by the way, I also just want to put something on the record. Some time ago, there was some controversy, and I think it might have been on Kick or no, maybe it was on Twitch, where people were claiming that there was stuff with Ethan Ralph where they were just rebroadcasting it and would just be somebody watching the video, like as if I was just on screen, but they don't say anything. They weren't really doing commentary, right? That one girl was smoking more than she talked. Right? She was just smoking. I think she was doing fun vapes the whole time. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but she wasn't doing any commentary. I'm against that. People shouldn't be, if you're going to do commentary, you should be speaking over the video, pausing it and offering your opinions. I tried to do that. Yeah, Ethan Klein, you are correct. Urban Terror with one for the goal. I don't know where my noise machine is. And I feel ridiculous. This is a clown bell, but there you go. Urban Terror with one for the goal, saying thanks, Stephen. Thank you, Urban Terror, for your kindness, generosity, and support. So one of the ways that you could spot a fraud is what shows are they on? Are they going on the scam channels like Fade to Bullshit with Jimmy Greaseball Church, Jimmy Needs Church? If so, their story's probably fake. That's just one way that I think you could tell somebody's story is fake. Somebody who had a genuine experience wouldn't be going on Jimmy Church, who is famous for promoting frauds. Frauds like Corey Good, frauds like Emery Smith, frauds like David Wilcock. And the list goes on and on and on with the frauds that Jimmy Church, he platforms all the frauds. He gets his little piece of their scam pie. And everybody's happy, right? All right, let's see if we can't get through some of this Jimmy Church slop.
That's tonight. Travis Walton is here tomorrow night here on Fade to Black
What? What is? I got the wrong video. God. What? Jimmy Church with Travis Walton. What's the deal? Is he on or not on this one? Did I grab the wrong one?
And I get the video ready, and now I'm standing there. I've got it ready, and I'm watching, and I'm holding up nothing, and there's nothing. I stood there for about.
What is he saying?
Flying saucer hovering.
Okay,
there.
he is on here. Okay. What is he saying tomorrow night? Oh, come on.
And talked about everything but UFOs, right? But I had a chance to look into his eyes, and that is good enough for me. And
this is Jimmy Church explaining away the hoax claims. Oh, I looked in his eyes, and that is good enough for me.
Peter was like, Jimmy, that is the best thing you could ever say. I said, that's it. But I told Peter, he knew that you were coming on the show today. And he said, Jimmy, don't hold back. And I said, well, I'm not going to. And I don't think that's the point. I think what we need to do, Travis and I have done many, many, many shows together.
Yes, you've taken a lot of pieces of Travis Walton's scam pie, Jimmy Church. You've taken a lot of pieces of the scam pie.
The first show I did with Travis so many years ago, 2013 or something, we talked about 1975 then. And every time he's been on the show since then, we've talked about everything else but that. So maybe it's time.
Yeah, because his story is old and tired, and people are tired of hearing it. So you got to talk about something else, right? One moment. I'm just checking out the stream, making sure that it's still live. Yes, still live. Okay.
Time to circle back and revisit 1975. And so let's
I don't like going there, but briefly,
right.
We were.
How sick of telling his original story do you think this guy has to be? Being a staple at every UFO convention since 1975, telling the same tired old story over and over and over again. And then things like the Fire in the Sky movie came out. Fire in the Sky film release date. And when that film came out, it was March 12th, 1993. Then he had a resurgence of his scammy career where he made the rounds all over again, right? Just one of those things, right?
Returning from work, we saw this glow coming through the trees. And this was on the contract without a doubt. And when we got to where the source of the light was, we could see this flying saucer hovering there in the clearing.
Or everybody saw a lit up fire tower.
And there's absolutely no doubt in the minds of any one of us. We've all passed multiple polygraph tests on that subject.
You hear him? We've passed multiple polygraph tests. What about this interview is after he failed the polygraph on a national television show. You notice he doesn't mention that? And the polygraphs that the crew members passed were centered around law enforcement thinking that they killed him and buried him in the woods somewhere. That didn't have anything to do with the flying saucer story, right? Nothing to do with that.
And it was definitely not off there 4 miles away at some little Forest Service installation that this crazy theory is being bandied about.
Yeah, it wasn't a theory. Mike Rogers spilled the beans that's how they fooled the other people. Apparently, they fooled the other people in the logging crew by lighting up a fire tower. And the fire tower looked suspiciously like the UFO that they all claimed that they saw, right? And so here Travis Walton is trying to defend his one-time partner coming out and saying it was all a hoax. Only Travis and I were in on it, and this is how we fooled the other guys.
Now, a couple of things. Let's actually start right there. We're talking about, first off, remoteness, Travis.
And isn't it great that Jimmy Church steps up to help defend a hoax instead of busting the hoax, right? Jimmy Church could have done the right thing and say, I don't know, I interviewed Travis Walton many times. I thought I believed him, but now his partner is saying it was all a hoax, and here's how they hoaxed it. And I apologize if I did bring my audience a hoax. No, he never apologized for a hoax. He's never apologized for Corey Good and promoting Corey Good. Here's another one, CN2311. Yes, I'm aware. Lazar is going back on Joe Rogan. I hope Joe pushes him harder this time, but I doubt it. We need you on there as a skeptical guest. Well, it's interesting. Multiple people have emailed me saying you should get on Joe Rogan with Bob Lazar and be like this guy. Yeah, would I do that if offered? Absolutely, 100%. I would drop everything and fly to Texas in a minute to be on Joe Rogan with Bob Lazar and ask him the real hard and critical questions like, wasn't your wife a convicted murderer at the time you came out with your story, so you never could have got access to any secret base? You couldn't have gotten clearance? Weren't you bankrupt at the time you came out with your story? You know? Or why did you lie about being a scientist at Los Alamos? And I would throw the papers with the interviews with his former supervisor saying that he was a low-level electronics technician down on the table next to him and ask him, why did your former bosses say that you were never a scientist at Los Alamos? You were a low-level electronics technician. And on and on and on. But I thank you, CN2311 with one for the goal, £4.99. Yes, Lazar is going back on Joe Rogan, and I hope that Joe Rogan pushes him harder this time, and I doubt he will. And I would love to be on that show, but I think somebody posted a photo already, so it seems like they've already recorded it. Joe Rogan, it's interesting that I don't think that he does his show live. He just records it, and they, upload it the next day or a couple days later. And it's interesting that Lazar is now going on Rogan to promote the new documentary that I'm sure is going to make millions of dollars. Another person with a big money grab. And I guarantee you that this new documentary will not cover any of the critical information and the debunks that we have shared with you for years now, because a pretty lie is preferable to the ugly truth, my friends. Yeah, I would ask him about being a pimp too. Absolutely, right? CN2311, I think you would give Lazar more sudden migraines. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Someday I will get a chance to confront Bob Lazar or even just Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. Did you know that an Area 51 security guard called George Knapp and said, you may want to be careful with this guy claiming he worked at Area 51. I'm a security guard there. He's not in any of the flight logs. He's not in the check-in, check-out logs. He couldn't have ever stepped foot on Area 51. You might want to be careful. George Knapp not only never reported that, but he kind of covered that whole story up of the Area 51 security guard. His name was Fred. His last name escapes me at the moment. But verifiably, he worked at Area 51 at the time Bob came out with the story. He called George Knapp and said, you got to be careful. This guy never worked at Area 51, and I can prove it to you. I'm a security guard here. And George Knapp didn't want to report that because that would kill the story, right? Yeah, and yes, Lazar is full of shit. Joe Rogan is not going hard on anybody. Yeah, I agree. He's never going to go hard on anybody. Nobody. All right, let's get through some of this.
But from the location when you and the crew in the logging truck stopped, from there, how hilly is it? I just want to know, how far of line of sight do you have from that location?
Well, there is absolutely no line of sight from there to the Gentry Tower. You cannot see it.
That's not true. Somebody did a drone flight. There's clear line of sight to that watchtower.
You still couldn't see a glow from the thing if the lights were on. It's just not visible from there. It's just way too far away.
Somebody did a drone flyby from the actual location of the reported sighting to the thing. There's clear line of sight. He's lying. Just like he lied on national television. Imagine that.
It's ridiculous. This accusation that I've acknowledged or admitted or in any way. The truth is, I've never been to that tower.
Right.
Never been to it.
Yeah, I bet you he'd fail a polygraph about that too.
Never seen it. So anybody that's saying anything else is a gigantic liar.
Says the guy who got caught lying in a polygraph twice.
And the
I don't know. I can say with 100% certainty, I've never failed a polygraph. And yes, working in corporate America, I once had to take a polygraph because there was some, let's just say, financial irregularities in the department where I worked, and they were trying to locate the source of it. So I took a polygraph and passed and retained employment. Mr. Walton here can't say that he passed these polygraphs. He did in the beginning of this interview. Oh, we passed polygraphs. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. We have the proof that you failed the one with the National Enquirer, and then you failed the one on the Moment of Truth national television show. He failed 2 lie detector tests. And yes, I'm calling them lie detector tests. Come at me in the comments. Tell me it's not a lie detector, Stephen. I know. It's a polygraph. I own one. Trolly Troll is here, one of our longest and oldest supporters. Always happy to see him in the live chat. Thank you for being a member, and thank you for that. Trolly Troll says, would you ever apologize to Bob Lazar? Yes. If he took me for a ride in the alien spaceship and I could verify that and take metal samples from the spaceship and verify that it was made off from metal and materials that are outside of our solar system, then I would apologize. But I think we have a better chance of monkeys flying out of my asshole than him proving conclusively to me that his story wasn't all or any way true. But thank you, Trolly Troll. One for the goal. Have I ever done a show about Dara and Bashar? No, he's on my list, though. I do have a replay of people who channel aliens. I don't find Daryl Anka and Bashar to be very interesting. I mean, after all, it's like an Atlantean high priest he's supposed to be channeling. And also, Daryl Anka, he puts everything now behind a paywall. So it's very difficult to get clips of him doing his channeling thing. And then he copyright claims everybody, or so I hear, Arlene. So we've tended to avoid him just to avoid again, paperwork is my kryptonite. I can't stand when people make me file all these fair use defense legal letters.
We've all been in the woods, right? And certainly where we are talking about here is remote, and that was your job on the logging crew to go out and clear the trees because of forest fires and other reasons to have to clear those trees. But from there, when you look around, you could probably see, I'm just guessing, Travis, but you could probably see 100 yards. And if you're lucky, a break in the trees, maybe a quarter of a mile. But that's it. You're in a heavily forested, hilly area, correct?
Well, the truth is you can actually
the truth is
peaks over Flagstaff.
When you have to preface your statement with the truth is, it's probably not the truth.
Most of the year, maybe all of the year.
He's trying to explain away the debunk that people came out with.
From there. But you're going to have to move around to where the trees aren't in the way. And it's certainly not anything that's going to let you see this fire tower.
And
which, by the way, was occupied by a local reporter who described her experience encountering certain people come by, researchers and whatnot.
People trying to bust your story came by. It wasn't occupied at the time of your sighting, though. And there's conclusive proof that it was unoccupied at the time of his apparent or alleged alien abduction.
It's not like it was some kind of isolated place where somebody might hide out or something. That's just totally ridiculous.
Now, and I want to stay on specifics here.
Lighting up for the grifters.
Mike freaked out. Mike Rogers, the driver, he peels out and takes everybody with him. for these claims of a spotlight or something else coming.
Yeah, there was colored spotlights in the fire tower. In other words, there was a spotlight and there was blue, red, yellow, and clear, I suppose, gels that you could put in the front of the spotlight. So that would kind of explain the beam of blue light that the other witnesses claim they saw Travis engulfed in before he disappeared into the darkness.
Through, or I can't figure out how that theory holds water. But Mike,
because Jimmy Church, you're retarded. In the fire tower, there is a spotlight and colored gel cells, including a blue gel covering for the front of the spotlight, so you could project a blue spotlight. That could explain the big beam of blue light that the witnesses apparently saw.
And the rest of the crew wouldn't freak out over a spotlight. That's not what they saw.
Of course not. Of course not. One of the crew actually said it was the brightest thing he'd ever seen in his life. It was compared to a bolt.
He's doing a super duper prover maneuver. It could have been just a spotlight, even though there was a spotlight right there on that fire tower that could shine a blue spot. It could have been. It was those pesky flashlights. Yes, fade the bull. That is right. Fade the bull. We'll check in with the kick support. Capybara supporter with 500 kicks. Look at that. Thank you. 500 of them. More like fire in the copyright system. Yes, and Let's Maga sent 100 kicks, a full send. Thank you, Let's Maga, for your kindness, generosity, and support. We're graduating. People on Kick have stopped throwing pennies and dimes at me, and now people are starting to throw dollars. We want those dollars, you kick brokies. Don't be a kick brokey. Don't make me get out the begging puppets and shit, right? Come on. Throw dollars, not pennies. I will not be offended by penny tossers and nickel tossers and dime tossers. Every time I bitch, they throw more nickels and pennies and dimes.
So lightning, a laser beam, different. The reason there's so many different descriptions because they were all talking to different deputies, but it was definitely not just a light somebody turned on or something.
Oh, sure. Definitely not that.
The descriptions that not only made it into the movie, but the book too as well.
Yeah, I'll see if I can't find the trailer. And I'm going to get a copyright claim for playing the Fire in the Sky trailer. That's a good movie, though, but it's based on bullshit. There's an Ozzy song called Fire in the Sky, too. One moment. Yeah, and the movie kind of acted like they all passed lie detectors about the alien stuff, and that is not the case. The crew passed polygraphs about whether or not they hurt or had anything to do with the disappearance of Travis Walton. And some of those, I think Mike Rogers' test came back inconclusive. The rest passed. And that would kind of make sense if Rogers was in on the hoax. And I'm going from memory, so feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that specific data point.
Artwork that has been generated out there depicting the moment of all of this going down, that really hasn't been in a point of contention for 45 years, right?
No, not at all. All this time it's been fine. And
yeah, somebody drew a picture of it and nobody said it was bullshit until now, Travis. Yeah, until your partner came out and said it was bullshit, and here's how we faked this whole thing.
Some no-name wannabe is trying to twist things in order to gain their 5 seconds of fame, claiming this.
Talk about no self-awareness. This is from the guy who had his 15 minutes of fame, right? Failed a couple of lie detector tests. This guy's just trying to get famous by debunking me. Come on.
This thing all in connection with this Gentry Tower thing, which actually did come up way back, and that was very quickly dismissed by anybody that looked into it.
Yeah, I was not able to find any record of that debunk coming up previous to when it did several years ago.
I mean, good grief, it's almost 4 miles away. It's just, there's just no way that we're going to wander off the contract. The contract, we know where we are, we know what the roads are, and you know the borders are actually flagged with plastic flagging that the Forest Service puts up.
So now there's another part to this. If there was somebody in this tower, I'm just saying, right? If there was somebody in that tower.
Listen to Jimmy, man. Come on, let's do the damage control so we can keep making money off your story, Travis Walton. I've been making money off your story for years with you. We don't want that to go away, right? We don't want that to go away. And I'm trying to find, while we're listening to this, I think there's on the UFO Watchdog website, there is some interesting stuff about Travis Walton. I'll try to locate that as we go through the rest, some more of this.
Now we've got a co-conspirator here. How is it that co-conspirator hasn't been caught? Nobody has come forward.
It's totally made up, and this wannabe filmmaker, I don't believe he's a real filmmaker anyway. But,
well, actually, this is, I think it was Ryan Gordon who came up with this stuff. And he was a filmmaker. He made gay porn before he decided to get into UFOs. So he's a filmmaker. He made gay porn films, but he made films.
The co-conspirator thing is he refers in much of his narrative on several different points where he's quoting mystery witnesses or testimony from people who shall not remain nameless. And this is very, very suspicious. Hey, come on. If you've got somebody that's going to testify to something, you know, confront me and Mike and John and Steve and let's just have it out, because it's going to be BS.
Anybody says I'm lying, they're a liar. Even though I failed lie detector tests.
With dogs, nothing was picked up. If there was somebody else out there in the woods, wouldn't their scent have been picked up? And
oh God, he's pulling out the dog excuse. The bloodhounds couldn't find Travis or pick up his trail. His trail just ended. Come on.
Maybe, you know what I mean? And it would have led them to Gentry Tower or somewhere else.
The trackers, you know, were going by footprints, and the dogs were confirming what they were finding. That, you know, I left the truck, went up to where I was hit, and that was it. There was no scent anyplace else. And these were, you know, tracking dogs from the state prison over at Winslow.
And wouldn't, now this is just my mind trying to resolve this, Travis.
Yeah, this is my mind trying to fucking.
It would have had to have been a monstrosity of a spotlight, not something that you're out there tracking deer with, right? We're talking about something that would be in front of Mann's Chinese Theater at a movie premiere.
Oh, come on. You don't know the distance they were from the fire tower. He's saying it was miles away. Isn't that what a hoaxer would say when he's caught with his pants down with the exact methodology of the hoax, right? I would think that would be one of those things. CN with one for the goal. I'm sorry about the horn. I can't find the other thing. It's here somewhere. This is what happens when, I got it. I have the other annoying thing that people complain about. People complain about the horn too, but thank you, CN2311. One early lie detector examiner concluded Walton was engaged in gross deception and was reportedly trying to manipulate the test, holding his breath. Later past tests were arranged by UFO groups. That is a great point. So he may have passed some polygraphs, but he certainly failed two big ones, the one from the National Enquirer and the one from Moment of Truth television show. Thank you for pointing that out. CN2311, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and big support of the show. Much, much appreciated. And Capybara supporter just threw a penny at me on Kick. FF9000 sent 10 though, and I think we had Winter Soldier sent 1 kick, and Capybara supporter also sent 500 kicks. So we thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Much appreciated. We like to kick support, especially the people throwing dollars, not pennies. Don't throw pennies at me. I'm worth more than pennies. I think. I don't know. Apparently not, right?
Yeah, and as time went on, more witnesses came forward. A couple that were deer hunting in the area. Another guy that was.
This is a super duper proven maneuver. What are their names? Can we interview them? No, he never says. Suddenly, there's new witnesses to his abduction that he's never talked about or mentioned before when the story starts coming crashing down. But nobody's allowed to talk to them or interview them. Just trust me, bro. There's other witnesses.
Boating or something over there at Black Canyon Lake, and they described the departure of this object that matches up with what the crew saw.
Now,
Man, Jimmy Church is like, he's rubbing his only like 5 or 6 brain cells together. Like, he's really trying to help Travis Walton push back these hoax claims, right?
They weren't just reporting that to us.
Right.
They were also reporting it to the sheriff. That was in the sheriff's file. And
Now,
I have the names of these people that saw the departure. So it's not like this wannabe filmmaker that's claiming this witness to.
He never released the names, by the way. And I tried to get to him to get to the names. Nope.
Told me this, and this one confided this, and I'm sorry, this, and here's my other secret source. That is just such phony garbage.
Yeah, it appears to be nothing but that, Travis. And I wanted to ask you this other. It seems like a strange question to ask, but the site has been documented not only by the sheriff's department and everybody else in the logging crew and where all of this happened. Is it possible that you guys were just on the wrong road and you were actually at Gentry Tower and
no, come on, Jimmy.
And everybody was just mistaken about the actual
That
abduction
is
site?
absolutely impossible.
Another super duper proven maneuver. We couldn't have been on the wrong road. We couldn't have been anywhere near that tower that looked exactly like the spaceship that everybody describes when you light it up at night, right? I would love to see Truth Seekers come on. I would love to see Travis Walton on Truth Seekers. Well, yeah, believe it or not, there's somebody that is coming on Truth Seekers that nobody in my audience would ever believe would actually come here and do an interview, but they're going to do it. I spoke to them today. We'll have more details about that soon.
I mean, if we were that stupid, we couldn't even do the job, for hell's sake. Everybody out there can tell you within a couple of feet of where we were.
So the gist of his appearance on Jimmy Church here is that the hoax started coming crashing down. And of course, he enlists the help of his fellow grifters like Jimmy Church to help him push back the hoax claims. And then he went right on working UFO conventions. Now, I will say that I have been contacted by at least 10 different people, all of which claimed, oh no, Stephen, I met him and he seemed like a really honest person. Well, sincerity is not a proof of a true story. There's many grifters that can be totally psychopathically, I would say, sincere. It doesn't mean that they are telling the truth. It means that they're good at pretending to be sincere about their story, or it could mean that they're just good at appearing sincere. And all these people that met him told me what a nice person he is. But I'm here to tell you that nice people aren't people that spend their lives lying to people for money. And from everything I've witnessed, it appears that Travis Walton has spent decades of his life lying to people for UFO dollars. And he's always looking for more UFO dollars. That's one thing you'll notice about UFO grifters. No matter how much money they make, the guy got a Hollywood movie deal. They bought the rights to his book to make a Hollywood movie. How much money do you think he got from that? It's not enough. he needs money. Now he's broke and crying poor, right?
When this happened. And every sort of theory to try to knock it down, explain it away, was leveled at us right off the bat. And Mike Rogers showing how there's stuff that we could claim out of something that has no basis.
I think I rezzed out for a moment there, but I think we're good again. I apologize. Yes, Jimmy Church does look like a creepy, perverted uncle. That's Jimmy Church, right? Yes, they are good liars. Copy Barra supporter with very good point. I have met many psych patients who are very sincere in their delusions. Yeah, I once met somebody at a mental institution that was convinced they were Jesus, and he was very sincere. Doesn't mean that he was telling the truth about being Jesus, right? He was in the pokey, locked up in a friend's hospital. I met him visiting my mother, who was a paranoid schizophrenic, in there for a 30-day stay and evaluation period. My mother would routinely decide to just stop taking meds, and then at which point her symptoms would reemerge. As long as she took her meds, she was relatively, I guess you could say, normal. But people who are paranoid schizophrenics, when they go off their meds, they start having delusions. So
there was one example. Mike and I were on a show with Larry King, and the skeptic there was trying to claim simultaneously that when I hit the ground, which was rocky, it should have bruised me, which would have shown in my medical exam afterwards.
Oh, come on. It's more trust me, bro, prover maneuver. Couldn't have been a hoax.
But then at the same time, the same ground that I'm standing on is covered with a thick carpet of pine needles that should have caught fire and burned. That's how goofy the kinds of accusations.
Well, you're saying it's a big blue laser. Wouldn't pine needle? That's a valid argument. Wouldn't pine needles burn, or there'd be some? Yeah, I guess it was. It was a special alien laser that didn't burn organic material somehow.
That were being made back at the time, even back then.
Name drop Larry King, right?
The Gentry Tower nonsense came up briefly, but it was very quickly rejected by major skeptics.
Somebody that's truly delusional. You gotta,
they could, and they didn't latch on.
It was Michael Shermer on the Larry King show.
Impossible. Yeah. I mean, no way.
Now, for this,
it's their whole income
been
source.
A hoax. You know, some big conspiracy with you and the rest of the logging crew. That would mean, Travis, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that would mean that everybody would have to have been in on it from the word go.
No, apparently only Mike Rogers and Travis Walton were in on it. And listening to this from the lens of the deathbed confession we saw earlier in the broadcast, I just want to say, Jimmy Church, you're a piece of shit. You defended this hoax, and now we have a deathbed confession that, yes, indeed, it was a hoax, pal. What are you going to say to your audience now? Are you going to fess up to your audience? Can you tell us, how much money have you made over the years grifting off of the Travis Walton case? How much money have you made selling coffee while having him as a guest, or whatever nonsense you sell? And yes, it's true. Jimmy Church not only vetted him 3 times and found him not to be a hoaxer, even though we have a deathbed confession from his partner admitting it was a hoax, but he also anally probed Travis just to make sure he wasn't lying. That's how you test. You got to test it. You got to test the waters, right?
That all of this would have had to have been rehearsed and so convincingly told that everybody's going to pass a polygraph too as well.
They didn't pass a polygraph about the alien claims, you moron. And your guest that you're sitting here defending the hoax of failed a polygraph at least twice.
Well, that's the thing, that if you understand the science of polygraph, is just absolutely impossible.
Yeah, blame the polygraph.
What we described was what we saw.
Blame the polygraph.
The 45
just
years
erase the shows like
has gone by.
Shows, yes.
And the story, the event, the case has not changed. right? Nothing has changed, and nothing has been
I'm not mad at
elevated.
you. You're entitled to
How
opinion.
could
Everybody is.
I'm just asking you to postulate here? How could everybody keep the same story for
He
45
never
years?
changed the story, but it wasn't true.
Well, and here's another thing: we weren't a bunch of buddies. We didn't
That's
hang
true. The
out
coffee that
together
Jimmy
after
Church sells
work,
gives
you know.
you incredible
A lot of
diarrhea,
them was
allegedly.
just, you know, they had their own
So I've
lives,
heard.
and
I don't know if that's true.
after the day's work, you know, they'd go do their own thing or whatever. So it wasn't any kind of a close-knit group of conspirators.
Is it
Come on, Jimmy, come up with some more reasons why it
is
can't
it
be a hoax.
possible
But we know it was a hoax now.
that
It was a deathbed
how do I-
confession, you asshole.
Could all of this have been imagined? and that part of it, right?
Every
And that
theory in the world's been tried in that regard,
right.
and it's just goofy. I mean,
Yeah,
to the extent
send
that
something to David
you
Wilcock.
know,
Maybe
there is
he'll
a
fix his
fault line there
constipation.
geologically, and
He's always
earthquake
talking about being
lights let
constipated.
lightning come out of the ground instead of out of the sky, and supposedly that was going to make me hallucinate that this happened. But if you get hit by lightning and somehow it operates on your brain, it's not going to affect 7 people with exactly the same.
You notice he's trying everything? Like, couldn't have been lightning. It had to be aliens. No matter what people come up with to try to explain his story. Nope, couldn't have been lightning and me getting a shock and, you know, having a delusion or a dream. Had to be aliens. It could be anything but aliens, because aliens is where the money's at. You're not getting rich telling a story about getting struck by lightning, right? And disappearing for a little while. Maybe you were, I don't know, temporary amnesia. Who knows?
Series of events. It's just absurd. So, you know, explain it away as a delusion.
I just want to put on the record again that multiple times now, Jimmy Church has helped Travis Walton push back on these hoax claims. And now we know that Jimmy Church is a moron because it was a hoax, according to a deathbed confession. And who decides on their deathbed to finally come clean, but they're the liar? I'm sure. And by the way, I've already gotten messages from people. Oh, Mike Rogers was a known liar. Well, if that's the case, that Mike Rogers was a known liar, then was he lying when he was backing up Travis Walton's story as being true, or was he lying on his deathbed when he said the whole story was a hoax, right? His friends left him for dead out in the woods because he was so insufferable. Suffer, Travis Walton. We'll let the aliens take you and anally probe you. We're getting out of here. They did. They left the scene, and then they went back to look for him.
Oh, yeah, they were all hallucinating on drugs. You're out there with dangerous equipment, you know, cutting trees that, you know, you drop.
I will say that. I never use a chainsaw under any influence of anything because they are very dangerous. That I'll agree with them on.
One on you, it can kill you, you know. And nobody's going to be stoned out of their mind, and certainly not 7 people identically stoned. I mean, that's just totally ridiculous. But the main
Wilcock's
thing
looking pretty rough. We're going to cover that this week.
Talk
Again.
about
Don't
drugs
worry.
and
We'll
drugs,
get to it.
It was all a hallucination. The bottom line was I had blood and urine samples.
No, apparently only 2 of them were lying, and the other 2 really thought something weird happened.
Traced 0 drugs of any kind in my body. So all these crazy theories, all these people saying, oh, when they found Travis, his stomach was covered with dirty needle marks. This guy's just making it up. They're all just trying to be important. And
Copy Barris
you wouldn't believe how
one
wild
will send 100 kicks.
Things get when they're trying to make up a story and attach themselves to something that's in the news or something, trying to be important.
Now, there's another part to this we're going to jump into at length after the break.
They're supporting the stream.
After
they're actually supporting the stream. Kick likes me again. Thank you, Kick supporters.
Mike decides to come back, and you're gone. How long was it before they got to town and reported everything to the sheriff?
Well, that's their story, you know, and I'm sure Mike could tell a very accurate account of that.
You mean the guy who said it was all a hoax because you cut him out of the money for one of your deals?
but I wasn't there.
But and my point to this, and we'll discuss this after
You don't have a point.
the break, is there
Got to take a break and have 25 minutes of ads.
were a lot of things that I'm sure when the sheriff starts getting reports like this, and it's it's been well documented about jumping to conclusions
Wall
like
of
maybe
Ugly
they were
Guitars.
covering up something.
Yes.
But
Several years
there
ago.
was a certain amount of
When the
time
hoax
that
claims
was
first
spent
surfaced.
before the search started, right?
Yeah,
Listen,
there was.
man, Jimmy Church is doing everything he
what they
can
tell
to
me,
try
'cause I
to
was
preserve
not
this
there
fake
at
story
that
so
time,
he
but,
can make more money off
they
of
were,
it going forward. And he did.
In so many ways, the police, the sheriff, were trying to deal with something that they had no precedence. I mean, it was
Guitars
just,
look like
what
toys.
is going on here? Obviously, these guys are shook up.
Well, Jimmy Church
Something
used to be a
definitely
Guitar Center
terrible,
manager, I think.
and they're trying to explain the disappearance
Les
of
Paul
their
is nice. The
coworker.
rest are trash.
So,
Yes, that I will agree
they
with.
killed him, and his
Gibson
body's stashed
is
out there
the
somewhere.
greatest
And
guitars.
so that
Everything else
became the
is
focus.
less.
And
great.
you know what? Probably rightly so. I mean, you're gonna
Oh,
think.
yeah, I don't blame them for thinking that.
I don't blame them either.
They
Travis,
deal with this stuff all the time.
All right. I think that's enough. So, just to put it on the record, Jimmy Church has multiple times now helped defend and push back on these hoax claims. And now we know that Jimmy Church is an idiot because we have a deathbed confession from Mike Rogers, who spent years of his life sort of backing up the story. And, I think we should always follow the money. While Mike Rogers was getting cut in on the Travis Walton story money, he would back up Travis Walton's story as 100% true. But as soon as they had a falling out over a financial windfall, apparently Travis Walton was getting a bunch of money from a new documentary deal, but not cutting Mike Rogers in on the new deal. Suddenly, Mike Rogers sort of said, I no longer back up Travis Walton's claims, right? No, that's not me. But there's multiple of my music. Just search by my name. If you go to the search bar on YouTube at our main channel, search by name Stephen Cambion. There's a bunch of different albums. The Phoenix Files, A Very Dark Place. You can search for Phoenix Files, A Very Dark Place, The Ugly Truth. I think there's 8 of my albums on our main YouTube channel here. And I've got another one that I'll be releasing soon, I hope. Jimmy vetted him 3 times, says Tales of the Sonic Voyage. That is exactly what happened. Jimmy Church always vets everything 3 times. Miss Phallus Cooper is here with one for the goal. We thank you, Miss Phallus Cooper, for 2 things: for being a member. By the way, if you become a YouTube channel member during the live broadcast, we give you a big shout out and thank you. Just click that join button, get access to our members only archive, which is, I think it's 80 videos now, which reminds me I have to make the monthly show journal. So thank you, Miss Phallus Cooper, with your one for the goal and a beer. Oh, I could use a beer. Absolutely. I'm Hardcore says, I like your music. Well, I'm glad. I don't have anything else really to do with it, so generally I just make it to make it, and then when I have enough songs to make an album, which I'm a little crazy about it. When I actually make an album, and I write, record, sing, do everything, including the mixing and production myself. Amber Geddon with one for the goal. Amber Geddon's a big show supporter, and she is the captain of the troll squad that drives David Wilcock crazy for us, or helps drive him crazy. I think I drove him crazier than anybody, but Amber Geddon, you're helping. By the way, I love that Truth Seeker song. Yeah, and Amber Geddon, I was going to sing it myself, and it just wasn't sounding right. So, when you can't, maybe someday I'll try it again. Who knows, right? And interestingly, we used to have like 10 of those Truth Seekers intro songs all with really the same lyrics but different styles. So maybe we'll bring some of those back because it's always the same lyrics but different singers, different. There's one that a girl sings, and Amber again says, "I love the Truth Seeker song." Well, thank you for that. I appreciate your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Much, much appreciated. And I could use beer too, says East Coast Turnaround. Well, unfortunately for me, I've been having to get up very early because of this situation with our furnace and our hot water heater. We had to get both of them replaced at once, which is incredibly expensive. And I can't tell you how glad I am because as of today, they're both installed and they're both working. We had a major issue with the heating system. We have radiators here, which means there's pipes all over my house that shoot the hot water around, and it's a really big house. And apparently, our old furnace died, and we had a couple of nights here where it was like 40 degrees or 35 even, and one of the radiator pipes with the hot water that goes throughout the house to the radiators froze, and then a pipe split, like broke inside a wall, which is great. So they installed the furnace, but there was a pipe leaking, like down the wall into my basement and into the crawl space. Today they came, and thank God they located it. And I was so angry because this is an extra $1,000 to get them to fix this on top of the cost of the furnace, on top of the cost of the hot water heater and the installation. And I was kind of really got sticker shock about these things getting replaced because I mean, there's a few things that I can't fix myself, like a furnace, like a hot water heater. I mean, I've done one time, I think, at our old house. I installed a hot water heater myself, but I decided I would never do it again because it's a nightmare. At least in the city, it's a nightmare to get the old hot water heater up from the basement out to the curb to get the new hot water heater, from Home Depot to your house and down the steps and then installing it is kind of a nightmare. And at least in the city, you could get somebody to install a hot water heater for a couple $100 more than the hot water heater costs. Not here, apparently. So we got kind of sticker shock because it was so expensive. We did have a combo, which was both the hot water heater and the furnace. Apparently they're old systems and they're not very efficient. So we decided to do the two separate units. And holy, was that expensive. And then on top of it, now there's leaky pipes. So now we've got to come back for an additional day. It'll be about another $1,000 just to rip open. And then they don't fix the wall. They ripped open a whole, it's not going to be too big of a deal. Replace some drywall and spackle and repaint the room. But it still pisses me off because charging $1,000 to fix there was a tear in the pipe that was about this big, like the pipe froze and there was a tear in one of the copper pipes. So they have to open up the wall, cut the pipe, and put a new, fitting or something over it. And in any case, thank God Almighty, furnace is in. We have heat. We haven't had heat for more than a week, but we've had, we have electric space heaters. So we've been plenty warm and we were just hanging out all together. It's forced family time, right? You want to be warm? But I feel especially bad because my autistic son, he has sensory issues and he loves taking showers. He's the cleanest kid I know. He'll take 4 showers in a day, right? Every once in a while I hear the shower go on and I'm like, oh God, again. And because, I got to go help him dry off and get clothes back on, right? Yeah, we did. There's no mold problems. It was only leaking. They installed the hot water heater. They tried to turn it on, and instantly they knew from the pressure valves on the furnace that there was a leak somewhere in the system. So it only leaked for a little, couple minutes. But what a nightmare to get that replaced. And I've had to keep waking up early. These guys, and of course they love to say I'll be there at 8 o'clock, and then they show up at 11:30. But you're sitting there waiting. Yes, being a homeowner is very expensive. And Amber Gettin, that combination of things, honestly, it's the most money my wife and I have ever spent in our life on a home repair. Because, furnace itself is $5,000, even if you just buy it. Just the unit is like $5,000. So, but kind of wipes us out. But luckily, my wife had a rainy day fund because holy, is that expensive. But the good news is that it's finally all fixed. But I had to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, both the day they installed the stuff and then today. And it was the strangest thing too, because the guy comes to fix the pipe and he needs some kind of crimping tool it's like $1,000 tool, and they don't have it on every truck. So we had to wait like 2 hours for somebody with another truck to come and give him the tool. And it seems stupid. Like you knew you had to do this. Maybe you should have brought the tool with you. So, and I already waited for him to arrive and waited for the tool. And honestly, I think the total time he spent working here was like maybe 35 minutes, not counting waiting for the tool, going to get a part, whatever. But it was all day. Well, like from the morning till 2 p.m. or whatever. But finally, it's all done. And maybe I could actually sleep in tomorrow. And I don't like to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and be up all day and then do a show, because I feel like I have low energy on nights like that, right? 7 a.m. is too early for a night owl. That is great. Yes, the crow is here. Hope you are well. Yeah, I'm good, And my wife and I are kind of upset about the expense of this whole thing, but we're both kind of like, there's nothing you can do. The kids have to have heat and hot water. And like I said, I felt bad for my autistic son because I try to explain to him that it's broken. There's no hot water, but he kept going in the shower, turning on the water, and then yelling help because it was cold. And he didn't understand why the shower wasn't nice and hot like he likes it. But the good news is we got a good big hot water heater. And for the first time in history, my kids, I always go last at night. And so like the kids took a shower. My wife takes her hour long, I don't know, you ladies, I don't know why it takes you so long, but I know you ladies like an hour long hot shower. And with the old system, a lot of times I'd get in there and it wasn't hot. It was like lukewarm and I'd be pissed off, like, or you got to wait a couple hours for it to heat up the water again. This new system is much more robust. So all of us can go right after one another and we should be fine. Yeah. Solderless joints, that would be a good idea, but I don't do anything. I do a little bit of PEX plumbing. That I understand. But when you got to solder pipes, no. I have childhood trauma from working on pipes in the basement with my father. And, a pipe would break and he didn't pay anybody for anything. He'd replace the pipe and we'd have to fix it. And he'd be yelling at me while I held the flashlight. So I have childhood trauma. I thought I was going to learn how to fix broken pipes, but all I learned is how to hold the flashlight and get yelled at. Yeah, I had that kind of dad, right? Yeah, that's actually what we got. Yeah, a biggin. So the good news is all that is taken care of, and the hot water is fine. So my autistic son can get his multiple showers a day and not, No, Arlene says no, old broad. Quick showers, get in, get out. Yes. Well, I just want to take a moment to apologize for our stream got a policy violation, suspension. It's clearly fair use. This also probably means that there will be copyright claims for tonight's show. So I just want to mention that when you support our show, you're not just supporting me doing the show, you're supporting me supporting the show, because, I have to file so many of these fair use defense letters to keep our ad revenue, which amounts to so little money that sometimes I just say I'm not, like I could show you one is the one from Joe Rogan is 12 different claims. So I have to file, if I want my ad revenue for that old show about him and Bob Lazar to continue, I have to file 12 different fair use legal defense letters. And sometimes I just say I'm not going to do it, but in this case, yes I am, because it pisses me off. Like, we took the time, we researched the show, I did the commentary over Joe Rogan's show. It's clearly fair use. Whatever ad revenue from now until infinity should be mine, but right now Joe Rogan is getting it. Isn't that nice? Mr. $330 million Spotify deal needs my $27 from now until I die of YouTube ad revenue for that show that I did several years ago. The world's just not fair, right? Yeah, Jimmy Church sure files a lot of claims for not. Jimmy Church always claims he doesn't know who I am when people mention me, right? Yeah, hold the light steady. Oh no, you're causing me trauma. Skyprop, you're causing me to relive my childhood trauma, right? I think Kobe Barra supporter sent another 100 kicks, a full send. I don't want to miss any. And yeah, we're all up to date. So Troll asked, is there a show tomorrow? Yes, this week there will be a show. Tomorrow and Wednesday for sure. I'm still not sure on the cabin. I may go to the cabin on Thursday and come back Saturday because, of course, Sunday is Easter, right? And I got to be here to see my kids get their baskets. My son's so excited. He loves chocolate, so he's waiting. And we do the Easter egg hunt and that kind of stuff. Yeah, Joe Rogan does not need my ad revenue. No. And, that kind of stuff bothers me, but I know why he does it. It's not for people like me, but I just get caught in what's the best way to say it? They cast a super wide net to grab anybody that's using any of his content. And so I get caught in the net, even though what I'm doing is legal and proper and ethical and moral. And there's, it's fair use. There's nothing wrong with what we did with his content. What they're after is the people that just take the clips and upload it. Sometimes they put a frame around it or something and try to make it a little bit transformative, but they don't do commentary. It's not really transformative. They're just pirating his material and making clips and stuff. You can find, just search Joe Rogan clips on YouTube. You'll find 100 channels that are doing that to him. So part of me doesn't blame him, but I wish somebody could get to him and say, you are hassling a lot of good people that are just doing commentary, Yeah, what kid doesn't love chocolate? I don't know. My older son's not a big fan of chocolate, right? Yeah. So I'm hoping to get back to the cabin this weekend, especially now that we have the road cleared up. And the power of the Bobcat compels you. I am so impressed with my friend's Bobcat. Here, I'll show you this again. This is us clearing the road at the cabin build site. For a year and a half, maybe 2 years, there's been these big boulders in the way of the road. And I have a feeling that they were placed there by a neighbor of mine, even though the nearby neighbor is like a mile away. I was told by a nearby neighbor that somebody did that because people were going back there with like a pickup truck and dumping trash and things like that. I don't know if that's true, but behold the power of a Bobcat. And some of these boulders are several thousand pounds, like especially on the backside. And I was so impressed. This is my neighbor at the cabin, Matt. He's one of my best friends. He's a great guy. And, like, how blessed am I to have a friend that has the exact kind of machine that you need to deal with this? When I first got the property, I tried with like ropes and pulleys and, even putting a chain on some of these and attaching it to my car to try to pull them out of the way to the side. I could move some of the smaller rocks in this pile, but these big boulders, they were not moving. So, by the way, I have a longer video of the whole process, and I'm talking over it because I was worthless while Matt was doing this. I was just throwing stuff off to the side trying to help him, but mostly I was talking about what he was doing and showing people this. So pretty amazing. Behold the power of the Bobcat, right? And behind where he's doing this, you see that's a township maintained road. That's also a dirt road, but it's plowed and maintained by the township. So I should always be able to get to the new cabin build site. And I'll be posting a video of this road clearing project for you YouTube channel members and Patreon supporters. You can join for as little as $1 a month on Patreon. Otherwise, it's $5 for the extra little goodies. And this is such a big deal to me because I carried hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of materials in a wagon. You see where the truck is parked behind him? You could just pull in, and then the boulders were in the way. So I'd pull in, I'd take the wagon out of my car and carry these 80-pound bags of mortar or 50-pound bags of gravel or whatever I needed, a half a mile into the woods. It's really something. And I always joke that I would laugh about this wagon situation and blocked road someday. And I'm not laughing yet, but I'm sure I will someday. Because like I said, I wanted to build this cabin, and I was like, I'm not going to be stopped. Whatever I have to do. And actually, it was Matt's idea. He's like, why don't you get one of those wagons with the big knobby tires and just pull it through the woods until I get time to get over there and help you clear it out. And that's what I did. But, life gets in the way. So it's been about a year and a half. But I'm happy to say it doesn't show it on this video. This is sort of the short form. But we got that whole mess cleared in record time. And so the road is now cleared. Here's a shot of the road after the boulders were removed. I got my signs up, private driveway. It's a private driveway, and it's about a half mile into the woods on this wooded, dirt path until you get to the cabin. But for the first time this, yesterday, I was able to drive my car and park it right next to the cabin. And the funny thing is I didn't have any materials to take in this week. Yeah, it does. Les Peter Guitar Jam says it looks nice and neat now. Yes, it does. And interestingly, not only did he clear the road, but he widened it a little bit because, there's always going to be brush. It was a little overgrown, but he saved me a couple of days of running around with, chainsaws and loppers. He just scraped both sides of it and ripped up all the brush and pushed it into the woods. And then he sort of graded it and flattened everything out. So it's nice and easy I don't have 4-wheel drive. So it was a little nerve-wracking yesterday driving in for the first time, but I was able to get in and get out. My tires did spin a few times in some of the muddy spots, but I'm going to lay out some gravel in the trouble spots if I have to or whatever. It does look so peaceful. Yes, this property is called the Hideaway because it is miles in every direction of woods, nothing but forest. There's no neighbors nearby. A few miles in every direction from the cabin to any neighbor. And I plan on keeping it that way, a little hideaway in the woods, right? And you can't see the cabin from the main road or anything. And my nearest neighbor did say I should put a chain or something or a gate just to discourage people. But I'm putting a ton of signs that say private property, private driveway, no access, no hunting, no fishing. I shouldn't. Is that a Bigfoot behind a tree? Definitely. Yeah. I'm going to get my grift on Tales of the Sonic Voyage. Tales of the Sonic Voyage is going to visit here, I think, someday. Glad to see I'm still streaming today. Oh, glad to see you here there, Light 017, right? Yes, so the cabin's pretty awesome. I hope to get there this weekend. And wouldn't you know it, though, this is another one of those weeks where the kids have spring break, so I'm going to be stuck in the house, and then I got to do shows at night, so I don't know if I have to, I'll get the materials on the way to the cabin, but I hate doing that because it's already a 2.5 hour ride to get to the cabin. And then if you add an hour or half hour or whatever at Lowe's or Home Depot, it kind of makes the whole thing go so slow, right? How long is my driveway? Well, I think that the driveway itself, it's about a half mile to the cabin, which is right in the middle of the property. And then there's another half mile of road that goes to the end of the property line. We have Miss Vallis Cooper, we have quite a big property here. So, and the road comes with the property came the deeded access to this thing they call a road, but it's a private road. And it's interesting. I'm not going to mention the name of it because nutters might be able to actually find it. They removed this road from the county tax maps. So it's not on any of the maps. that it got removed because it was blocked and inaccessible. I don't know if they'll put it back now that I've cleared it, but hopefully not. That's fine. My cabin will be on an invisible road that does not exist. It's the road to nowhere. That's what I jokingly call it. This is the road to nowhere. Because sometimes you just want to go someplace and get away, right? The road to nowhere will get you there. It will be an extremely fun place, and I will be offering to have a camp out sometime in the summer or maybe early fall for you show supporters. We got a lot of I got a lot of extra tents and stuff. We'll clear some space or something. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it and planning it. I guess we could take my fair use banner down. So that's the update for the cabin. I'm hoping to get back there this weekend with materials. I think I need to take in 30 more bags of gravel just to level out the floor. For the time being, the cabin's going to have just a gravel floor. And somebody asked me, like, is that a good idea? You know, there's a guy called Dick Prenicky. He's famous. He built a cabin in Alaska. Amazing guy with just hand tools. And he just put gravel on the floor. And he lived with that gravel floor for years. Eventually, maybe I'll cover it with stone or a wood floor or something else. But Armageddon, when I was in my 20s, I lived in the mountains with my first husband, and I hated it. Nearest big town was 45 minutes away to go shopping. Now I feel differently. Well, as luck would have it, I was kind of torn about this situation. That's how it is at my cabin. It's 35 minutes to go to the store, and I didn't like it at first. And then when we would go to the cabin, I would take so much extra crap because you don't want to have to drive, an hour and whatever, 10 minutes round trip just to pick up something you forgot. Like, I would do stupid things like take mustard or take hot dogs and forget the mustard or the buns or, you always forget something. But they just put a Dollar General right near my cabin, about 3-4 minutes down the main road from the cabin. Not this cabin, but the other cabin, which is a little further towards town. This area is a little more remote. The road taken, yes. New Mothman or Dogman sightings would be interesting. Another interview with Lon Strickler from Phantoms and Monsters. I get requests for that a lot. I think he had some medical problems, but he's doing better. I'm going to reach out to him. Thanks for reminding me. And we're going to return to a little bit more of a guest base. Our show used to be guests almost every night. And then eventually I just started doing shows myself because it takes a lot of time to book guests. And then there's always issues with that. People cancel, and then I have to cancel the show or change the show. But I've got enough backup shows now that I can book some interviews. And if somebody cancels, I'll just change the stream and change the title and the thumbnail, and we'll do a show anyway, just solo. So, yeah, on the story of Travis Walton, I think it's kind of a sad story, and it shows that these people that come up with these stories and then they attempt to live off of the story forever, it doesn't ever work out for them. In my experience, all of them end up bitter and broke, like Corey Good. Corey Good is bitter and broke right now. And there's some new information about the Stavati lawsuit, and I'm going to talk to John Christian Spadavaccia. Hopefully, he's going to be free to come here and give us an update on the Stavati lawsuits and maybe the Corey Good lawsuits. That's going great for Corey Good. The guy can't even declare bankruptcy right. Like they basically denied Corey Good the rights to declare. You can't declare bankruptcy. You're not giving us all your income, right? They're bitter and they're broke. That is correct. They are bitter and they are broke. Okay, just checking in with the support. I think we're all. No, there's a PayPal pledge that I have to call out, but I don't know. I don't think that person wants me using their full name. It's kind of funny who sent me that one. That's a whole story in and of itself, right? You'd be surprised who's a supporter of mine, but sometimes I think that just people that want me to take out their grifter competition, right? from TBS, a company called TBS. They have a company, but it's an individual. They sent $33. So we thank them for the $33. PayPal pledge and their kindness, generosity, and support. And they say, "You are awesome, bro." Well, thank you. And they know who they are. I don't think they want me using their name. Believe it or not, it's somebody that used to be on Gaia TV sent me that, which that's interesting, right? Apparently, even some of the other grifters are big fans of even some of the grifters are big fans. And we want to thank someone, and that's their user ID. This confused me before. When I would go to buy me a coffee, I'm like, okay, it just says someone bought a beer. So someone bought a beer, and it says, "Praise Ra, Namaste." Thank you, someone, for buying me a beer. And by the way, you can always buy me a beer or send a PayPal pledge. But please, please, if you send a PayPal pledge, add a note. Give me your chat room user ID and any message you want me to read out, right? Another contribution from Wilcox's ex-wife. Don't say that. He's already paranoid enough, right? Yeah, I heard that. Troll says, some clown in David Wilcox's chat was saying you had brain cancer. Let me go on the record and say I don't have any brain cancer. I don't have any cancer of any kind to the best of my knowledge, and I've had quite a number of medical tests related to my brain condition, which was an aneurysm. It has nothing to do with brain cancer. I've heard that several of David Wilcox supporters are telling people that I have brain cancer and I'm going to die and that I deserve it for busting his scams. They want me to die. Love, light, and death threats or death wishes, right? Love, light, and wishing a critic dead. You got to love it, right? Yes. So I'm gonna be back tomorrow at what just happened? Okay, there we go. I'm gonna be back at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. No place I would rather be. But that's all I got for you. And now, of course, I'm having trouble with finding an outro. Oh, you know what? One moment here. Oh no, I got it. Okay. So I'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be covering David Wilcock, who has just offended every Christian in the world, because David Wilcock is telling people that the Blessed Mary, the mother of Jesus, it wasn't really an immaculate conception. She was impregnated by aliens. Isn't that nice? Offending every Christian in the world. And my God, that guy is stupid. He's dumb as rocks. And we'll be returning to the wacky world of Wilcock tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No place I would rather be. But that's all I got for you, friends. So until next time, my name is Stephen Cambian. Good night, and God bless all of you.